Hello, and welcome to Marriage Minutes at Its Pace. Today we're going to be discussing his and hers. Now, what exactly is that? This topic comes from an episode that we just recently watched of Fantasy Island, the new Fantasy Island. I mean, Tattoo is a woman and 6 feet tall, and Mr. York is, I don't know, anyway. But on the episode, there was a couple in which the flame had kind of flickered out, and they had lost their romance for one another, their desire for one another. And so it seemed as though they were very disjointed. And so they went to Fantasy Island, and they partaked. Their fantasy started, and they kind of switched roles. Like the woman's soul was now in the man's body, and the man's soul was now in the woman's body. So they really got an understanding of each other by being in their body and getting in touch. You know, like the man really understood a lot more about his wife by being in her body. I know it was kind of weird, but it just made me think, you know, like his and hers. Like, where are we disjointed when we're trying to figure out what's going on within the soul of our spouse, or what's really going down deep inside, you know? And the amazing thing in this episode was she got pregnant.
Did the man get pregnant or did she get pregnant?
Right, because he said, I'm pregnant. And I was like, how are you pregnant?
It's actually a really good episode.
But the amazing thing was, she didn't want the baby. She's like, no, I don't want this baby.
The real
wife.
The real wife.
The wife in the man's body said she didn't want the baby. And he was like, no, we can figure this out. You know, and it was just odd because usually it's the man who says they don't want the baby. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but they figured out how to make it happen. But it just he really finally understood where his wife was and why they were so disjointed. And the woman being in the man's body, she was really enjoying this empowerment thing. I mean, she was like, yeah, that's what a man does, you know, and she was flexing her muscles and everything. And she got into a bar fight and got thrown out in the jungle, and the wife, who's actually a man, came looking for her, and they found each other, but their love rekindled through this, and they got busy in the jungle, it seems like. I mean, that ain't how they got pregnant, but they would, you know, anyway. And so it just made me really think, like, man, where are we disjointed at? And what are we missing that we don't fully understand about our spouse?
All I keep thinking is, I want to know is when you're going to get in my body. That's all I keep thinking about.
His and hers. Oh, boy. Yeah.
But no, I like that because I think that is what we have to do in marriage to be able to understand one another. Put yourself in your spouse's shoes. What is the load that they're carrying? And sometimes we minimize their roles, we minimize their jobs, their responsibilities, and think because we are doing XYZ that they don't have the same or equal amount of responsibility. And here's the deal. There is never going to be 50-50 in any relationship. There will be 30-70 sometimes. There will be 20-80 sometimes. There are going to be different seasons in your relationship where one person does more of the physical work than the other. Their illness and children and all of these other factors will come into play and cause you all to have an imbalance in your roles. But the bottom line is, are you being empathetic to that person? Are you being understanding of that person? Are you willing to step back and say, I don't need to be selfish in this moment. I need to figure out how Mark feels. I need to get into Mark's body and understand him from his perspective instead of just understanding him from my perspective.
That's good. And I think it's so hard because we are selfish creatures. And I know that this summer with the house being under construction, you know, I go to work and I come home and I start doing something else, you know, and Rhonda's working at home, and in my mind I'm like, dude, But I think,
What are you saying? Do
like,
what?
dude, come on out here with me and slang some paint, or but then I don't let her. So
Right. I was about to say that's not fair.
but what she's lifting or what she's doing for the household is just as important as what I'm doing for the household. And because that's a load that I don't have to necessarily worry about. So the teamwork is making everything pulling in the same direction. But just sometimes it's difficult. It's not even about that. I think it's really about, and you said it, how can I see what's going on with him from his perspective and not from my perspective? And I think that's the game changer right there, is because if I can empathize and understand what he's dealing with, and not solve it from my perspective, but how does he just deal with it and solve it from his perspective, I think we would have a lot more appreciation for our spouses and the things that they do day in and day out. My wife's a professor, and the way I will go about things is totally different the way, but I just try to support her in that and not try to solve it. And it's hard because I think just men just want to solve problems, but I have to just sometimes support and not solve, and try to see it, maybe elicit a conversation to help her see it differently from her own perspective versus, well, I see it like this, you should do it like this. And I'm not in that arena. So it's hard for me to give a solution to a problem that she may have if I'm not in that game.
So I think ultimately what we have to do is to own our selfishness and take it to our Father and ask Him to rearrange that for him or for us.
Don't flip us.
Huh?
Don't flip us.
Don't flip us.
Just rearrange it.
I think I still want you. But no, ultimately I think that if you pursue and approach every interaction with your spouse as an empathetic person instead of a selfish person, I think that we would get much further in life. I think we are so trained and indoctrinated in this world, especially right now. It's my way, and this is the only way, and again, it's back to that integrity. But
I'm gonna cancel you out because you.
Oh, cancel society. Oh, you're canceled because you don't believe this way. You don't. It's so sickening, and it's so exhausting.
Yes.
And I can imagine how it could be exhausting in our relationship if we are so rigid in this is my way or the highway.
Yes.
Right. And so I just think that we have to partner with God to figure out how to be empathetic and to get into our spouse's body and learn to appreciate them and learn how to respond or empathize in a way that is conducive to them. I'm done.
I would look nice with your hair. I think I would rock it different. Anyway,
what you want to
be well and be blessed.